I was just about to clean out my solvent container and clean a brush, so I thought I would go ahead and show you guys the steps that I take to do this. So first of all, I have my dirty turp in my cleaning tank, and what I want to do, I always save my solvent containers. So whenever I empty those out, I save them and I can put the used old solvent back in here. And I'll hold on to these, and then if you reach out to your city, you can find out how to dispose of hazardous waste. They actually sent us a little kit, and it's got labels like for solvents, motor oil, etc., that you can label your container with, and then contact them and they'll come out and pick it up for you. You definitely do not want to pour this down your drain or outside in your yard for safety reasons. So I am just going to go ahead, I've got this little funnel and I put it in my container for used terpenoid. This is my Gamsol, and I made sure I labeled that so I know. It's pretty obvious because it is kind of dirty. So I pour all of that out, and there's still going to be a bunch of gunk and residue down in the bottom. And what I need to do is get this little grate out of there. So I just have this trusty little tool. I had it whenever I did ceramics back in college, and it really comes in handy. It's got a pointed end on it, and I can grasp that little chicken wire and actually pull that up out of here. You do want to make sure you've got gloves on. And then what I'll do first is clean this one. So I use this little nail brush, and I've got Murphy's Oil soap. So I am just going to pour a little bit of Murphy's Oil soap. I'm just going to kind of flip this over and hold it in my hand and just pour a little bit onto that. A little bit of cold water, and I'm just going to kind of scrub all of that residue off of that chicken wire. All right, so once that's scrubbed, I just take a paper towel and gently dab that to kind of dry it out. I'm going to set this aside. Okay, so now I've got a container that's got a lot of icky gunk down in there. So I'm going to use my trusty little tool again. I've got the flat side. You can use a spatula or just like a plastic spoon or something like that. And right over here, I just have a plastic bag, and I'm going to set a paper towel down inside the bottom of that plastic bag. And I'm just going to pour this sludge onto the paper towel. So I'm just scraping all of that and trying to get as much of that out of the jar as I can. Okay, so once I have the majority of that scraped out, I'm just going to take the paper towel and wipe out the excess residue. It might take you a couple of paper towels. All right, so once the majority of that is scraped out, now I can go ahead and put my grate back down in there. And now I can take my clean solvent and pour it into my little tank. Make sure that's down in there all the way. And I'm just going to pour it so that it comes about maybe a ½ inch over the top of that little basket or chicken wire. Now, one little trick that I have found, whenever you're pouring out of a big container like this, a lot of times, if you've noticed when you try to pour from the front, it splashes and it spills a lot. So if you'll take it and pour it from the side, it actually keeps it from spilling. So I have it in there just above the little cleaning grate, and that is ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is show you my technique in cleaning my brush. So after a few paintings, sometimes even just cleaning it with the turp, there'll be paint and stuff down in there that you want to get clean. So I just use either Murphy's Oil soap or lye soap, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and use my lye soap. There's also a product called Chelsea soap, which is lavender and olive oil, and just get a little bit of warm water. I don't ever want to use hot because I don't want the hot water getting down into the ferrule and loosening the bristles. So I'm just going to use warm water. Get the soap wet, and you're just taking the brush gently back and forth, getting enough soap in there to where you can pull the bristles so you're keeping the form of the bristles of the brush, and just getting it nice and clean, and then rinsing it again with warm water. Then I'll just take my paper towel, pull the bristles out so it keeps the form, and then whenever I set it down to dry, you want to make sure you lay it flat and not put it in a jar face up, because otherwise water and stuff will run down into your ferrule, and you don't want that because that affects the bristles down in there. So keep it drying flat and you're good to go.